Many blessings, my loves. Happy eclipse season. My name is Rebecca, and this is my report for Pillars of the Moon. So, welcome everyone. Oh my gosh, what an amazing time that we've got now. Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm really excited to share some things that are coming through my lens for this new solar eclipse moon cycle, new lunar year of the horse, and yeah, and also Ramadan. Like, there's so much energy around this new moon. So, yeah, let's jump straight in. I want to start by lighting my candle here, and I'm going to take a deep breath and just connecting in to the stars, giving thanks to the heavens, the north, the south, the east, the west, above, below, and within, to the earth, the air, the fire, the water, the ether, giving thanks to the source of creation, and that great river of life that's flowing through us all. So just wrapping us up in a big circle of love as we are receiving this transmission of the stars today through me. So mote it be. I hope you're all doing well with these energies. It was a big cycle last cycle with all that Pluto energy and the last cycle of the snake. Um, and yeah, it's Monday today, so this is the last day of the snake before the new cycle comes. And the new year of the fire horse comes tomorrow with this new moon solar eclipse. So yeah, I'm going to go into the overview for you all so you can see what the whole cycle ahead looks like. So bringing that up now on the screen. So you should see that the new moon solar eclipse is happening on the 17th at 12:01 in the afternoon, just after midday for us in the GMT time. And then Saturn and Neptune are going to be coming exact on the 20th of February. This is the third and final passing of Saturn and Neptune, and this conjunction really only happens every 36 years, so it's a pretty big deal. So 89 was the last time that Saturn and Neptune came together. So yeah, yeah, I'll talk more about that later. Our first quarter moon will be in Taurus, and that will be on the 24th of February at 12:27 in the afternoon. And then Mercury will be going retrograde a few days after that, so that will be on the 26th of February. And the full moon lunar eclipse will be happening on the 3rd of the 3rd at 11:37, and that is in the constellation Leo. And yeah, then we'll be having our last quarter moon in Ophiuchus on the 11th of March at 9:38 in the morning. And the same day, Jupiter is stationing direct. So Jupiter starts moving forwards after the retrograde time. So that will be happening for us in the UK and the GMT time zone. It will be early hours of the 11th of March. So as we're sleeping in the early hours of the 11th of March, Jupiter will be stationing direct. And just as the sun is moving into Pisces as well, which will be happening around the 12th of March. So the 11th and 12th of March, just around this last quarter moon, there's quite a big shifting energy as the sun moves out of Aquarius and into Pisces, and Jupiter also stations to move forward again. So that's quite a big shifting energy at the end of the cycle coming. After that, we've got another new moon coming, obviously, as it always does. And that new moon will be in Pisces, and we'll have a little sneak peek at that at the end of this video today, so you can have a little look at that. So that's just the overview of the whole cycle. So if any of you are new here to this channel, I use astronomy, astronomical astrology, true sidereal astrology. There's lots of different names for it, but it really is just the live sky as it is today. So it's not the same as tropical astrology, which doesn't match the live sky. It is a true astronomical review of our living sky right now. So yeah, I will leave that there. I'm just going to come off of this screen now. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about um yeah, the energy of this new moon solar eclipse and what we could be feeling. I wanted to talk a little bit, as before we begin going into the charts and the life sky and everything, about the Eye of God nebula. And it's also called the Helix nebula, and it's in the constellation Aquarius. So I'm going to bring up another slide for you because I wanted to share with you something that I've made around that. So the Eye of God nebula, I don't know if you can see it. I'm just going to exit that one so we can see it a bit bigger here. Make it bigger. There we go. So I've written the source is the starting point of a river's journey. So the Eye of God or Helix nebula, if you're looking at here, you can see it looks like an eyeball or a helix of the eye. Um, to me, it looks very much like a water hole or a pool of water. This is why I've done this beautiful picture next to it of this natural swimming pool in Turkey, because the colour is very similar. It's like a turquoisey colour. Um, and so also below here, I've put an image of the Riwaka resurgence in New Zealand. It's the source of the Riwaka River. Um, I was blessed enough when I was in New Zealand to bathe in this water, and it's a very sacred place. Um, it's the source of the Riwaka River, which is, some of the most purest springs and water in the world, I've heard. They was telling me when I was there, that the Maori people really revere this place, the source of that pure water, the source of that life. And so, yeah, this is when I was bathing in this water, I felt like a child again. I remember giggling and laughing and just feeling very kind of elemental and fairy and bliss is the best way to describe it. I felt like this returning of life to my being. I felt young and fresh and new. And of course, the water was very cold. But there's like, when I don't know if any of you have ever been to a source of a river, and the energy there is very, very, um, there's a stillness there and there's a purity there. And there's also this kind of a little bit of I felt a bit of an eeriness. I kind of felt this energy of like, should I go in here? It was so sacred. I was like, I was like, oh, I could really feel like how this place was like an ancient well of sacredness. And for me to go in that water was a great honor, So I feel like the Eye of God nebula in the sky, in the constellation Aquarius, where this new moon is happening. By the way, it is this source of life. It's this returning of this flow, this wellspring, this cosmic womb energy. And when I connect to Capricorn, I've spoken about this before in the past in many of my other videos, that Capricorn is the old, it's the ancient, it's the stones and the bones and the wizards and the elders and all the stone circles and all of the old temples and it's very ancient energy, the Capricorn energy. And then when you come to the Aquarius energy, it's very new, it's futuristic, it's this energy of all that's fresh, and it's kind of electrifying and like exciting and invigorating, which reminded me of the feeling of going into the source of the Riwaka River. I felt all of those things. I felt this energy of freshness and newness and excitement and purity and life and playfulness and youngness that comes with returning to the source. And the Capricorn energy, when we're bringing them together, the Capricorn and the Aquarius constellations, they really do overlap. So in a way, like the old and the new belong together. The ancients and all of the new stars, that are coming through, they have like a a wholeness in the love that they have together. And the old informs the new. The wisdom of the ancestors passes down their wisdom to the new. So there's like this energy exchange of old and new, and how we can bring this ancient wisdom into the future. So this is a lot, like I feel like, as well, like I've had these visions before of, when I'm connecting to these energies of an old person climbing up this mountain like the mountain goat, and finding this beautiful like river or source or pool of water at the end of that big journey, which is the reward for all the hard work and endurance that Capricorn brings. Capricorn brings an element of, yeah, hard work, perseverance, not giving up. Like, it's kind of that growing up, growing into all that we're here to be. And then when we get to the Aquarius energy, there's like this regenerative flow of life, of this beautiful source energy that revitalizes us, to give us more energy to come into what's next. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you because I feel like this is an important piece of what I wanted to share today. And I also want to talk about two very important primordial mother goddesses that, there's not loads of information out there about them. We have to really dig in there. Like, they are like the invisible invisible goddesses that, yeah, because as we had the Roman Empire come in, and lots of um, stories were shared about the gods and Rome and the empire, and all of this kind of stuff. And the source and the mother goddess became, very much in the background. So I want to bring them back into the forefront, because I feel like, as I was talking about the source of the river, the source of the gods, the source of, all, to me, is connected to Danu and Namu, who are very similar in, when you look into their mythologies, and I've studied into them in somewhat, to really kind of feel who they are in my being. So that I can share with you in a really informed way, hopefully. So, yeah, so this slide that I've made here is about the source of the river is the starting point of a river's journey. And then I've written the mother is the source. We all came from a mother, or the gods even came from a mother, and I've shared before around the galactic center looking like a cervix, and how the sun actually rotate, all the planets and us on the earth are rotating around the sun, but the sun itself is also rotating around the galactic center, the black hole, the black sun, as some people call it. So yeah, you can see I've written here Danu. You can see in this beautiful painting here about this Danu, and she's holding this bowl. Does it remind you of anything? Not Aquarian at all, not Aquarian at all, right? So Danu, the mother of the gods, she's the ancestral mother of the Tuatha Dé and that basically means the people of Danu is the, and they are this very magical beings that, they go way back into the mythologies in the Celtic myths. And Danu being the primordial mother goddess of them, that she is connected to the waters and the rivers and fertility. And she's the hidden one, the flowing one, the one who suckles the gods. She's connected to the wellspring of life, and even those two words, the well and the spring, like, she is the well that brings spring, and I've been sharing about all of the water that has been coming down into Somerset, where I live, and so much flooding. And it's like this, it reminded me of the stories of the flooding of the Nile, and how, the ancient Egyptians would celebrate the returning of life of the flooding of the Nile. And it really did feel like, with this energy of all this water coming to the land here, it's like, wow, there's so much, I just felt so much fertility is coming, because once the sun comes out, everything's going to go poof. So, and then coming to Namu as well, like Namu, her story is Sumerian. She's the Sumerian primordial mother goddess, the mother of the gods. She birthed An, the sky, and Ki, the earth. She's also the flowing one, the waters before form, the cosmic womb. She's also connected to the water that flows underneath the earth. That's like connected to all the sacred springs of the world. So it's because of Namu and Danu that we have water to drink, and that is free. There's wild springs flowing all over the planet. And, it's such a shame these days that, there's so much water bottled in supermarkets and you have to pay, but the Namu and the Danu, they brought this flow of life, which is regenerative flow of life, that is ever flowing. And any of you who've had children who have breastfed will know, the milk often just keeps flowing. It's like there's so much abundance there to feed the children of the world. And so I just wanted to take a moment before I jumped into all the astrology to really give thanks to Danu and Namu, the mother of the gods, the source of the river, which, is very much connected to the Aquarian energy. In my lens, I see the Aquarius energy as this holy grail, this fountain of youth, where the old Capricorn goes to have this wellspring revival of life that comes from bathing in this most sacred water. So, yeah, returning the reverence to her, to the mother as the source, and yeah, that wild primordial waters of life that are always flowing for us. I mean, how lucky are we? So I'm going to stop sharing that for now. So I hope you enjoyed that little blurb about Namu and Danu. Um, I'm going to share Stellarium Web with you now, which is the live sky. This is an application that anybody can use. It's free. I think there are paid versions of it as well if you want to pay for extras. So let's just put the time back to the correct time. So the new moon solar eclipse, we've got 12:01. So I'm going to bring up the Helix Nebula, or the Eye of God as it's also called, so you can see. Whoop, we're going to zoom right in. Look, there it is. The source. The source of the river. May we bathe in its heavenly, majestical, rejuvenative life. So yeah, you can see if we're zooming back out, let's go. Oh, it's just really lovely. It's got a lovely alignment to this new moon here, which is also a solar eclipse because it's connected to the North Node, which is in Aquarius. So yeah, and there's also a really beautiful connection to Formal Heart as well, which is in the Southern Fish constellation, Pisces Australis. Um, so the fish drinks from this source. Lucky fish drinks from this source energy. So this Formal Heart star was known as one of the four royal stars, and has been connected to wisdom. It's connected to, yeah, like I feel like for me, like there's a real majestic energy here. It's like this consciousness, that source consciousness, I'll say, because it's drinking from the source here. So it has a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge. Kind of reminds me of the wizard or the witch or the magician kind of energy. It's kind of like the working with the flow of life, so it's working with that holy river. And you can see as we zoom out here, the Eridanus River. I'm going to click on it here. It is aligned. Ooh. So the first star here of the, or the last star of the Eridanus River, or the first star, we've got this alignment to the Eye of God, which was here, wasn't it? No, lost it now. Yeah, that is the Eye of God. The Eye of God here, the Helix Novella, and Formal Heart, and then the river, the Eridanus River. So yeah, it is the source of our soul. It is the source of the essence of our being. So we know that eclipses bring a 6 month cycle where we are to expect changes and shifts and, yeah, big kind of evolution towards our collective destiny, which is the North Node, which is known as the head of the dragon. It's where collectively we are moving towards. And the tail of the dragon is where we'll have our full moon lunar eclipse, which will be in Leo. And that's our collective past and our collective karma around Leo. So these are the two energies that the eclipses are working us with. So this new moon, as it's coming, it's huge. It's new moon in Aquarius, solar eclipse. It's the year of the fire horse on the same day. It's also the same day as Ramadan. And there is this huge shifting energy happening tomorrow. We're all going to feel it in some way, especially if we've got any planets in Aquarius or Leo. It's a really, really strong time. So, the last cycle with this last year of the snake, we would have had this completion of things, ending of old cycles, and maybe a lot of work involved with all that Capricorn energy of kind of like having to get real, to really be honest with ourselves and grow up and push ourselves through some challenging situations, and shed those last bits of that snake skin, which is often the hardest part, when we're right near the end of something and we've got to let go of that last little bit, it can be that last push to really, to really do it. And so now we're coming into this newness of Aquarius, and there's an opportunity. It's like the horse has arrived at our door and is saying, so where are we going? Because once you get on the horse, you're going to be moving towards, whatever you want to be moving towards, basically. Um, and the fire element as well that's connected with this year, and the yang energy. We've had a yin year of the snake before, so this is a year of, like, as we're feeling the energy of the fire horse, you know, giving us opportunities to move towards our dreams. There is this kind of need, this, I feel, this energy of the snake that, like, is required because the snake is our kundalini, it's our life force. It's our energy, flow of life. So the energy of the snake is the embodiment that we need to ride towards what it is. So we're using the energy of the snake. Involving the energy of the snake to allow that energy and that integrity to move us towards where we're wanting to go. And that is, like, I feel like the embodiment is so important, to really feel like who we are in our being, like our truest essence, our inner divine, that we're moving from that place, that it's not. And I feel like this is also a lot to do with the full moon that will be coming, could feel like that outer ego or identity that's falling away, that we are moving towards new future worlds that are being formed, that are is our collective future. And so the full moon lunar eclipse that will be happening in Leo, we could be, feeling like a loss of identity, or we may be triggered by our ego or our pride, or and old parts of our identity are having to make space for the newness that wants to come in. So, yeah. So that you can see that the new moon is in Aquarius. We've got Venus close by, we've got Mercury close by, we've got Mars back over in Capricorn. So also Pallas Athena asteroid is close here too. You can see Pallas and Venus are very close together. So Pallas Athena is about strategy. She's about integrity. She's about justice for humanity in Aquarius. She is very kind of like, let's make collective plans. Let's make strategies for the future for all of us, for all of Earth's beings. And Venus here is all about heart. She's creative. She loves humanity and the collective as a whole, And so these two together, it's like this energy of, yeah, justice for the collective and having such a big heart for that. And Mercury as well will be going retrograde this cycle, as I have spoke about. So I'm just wanting to do a little zoomy zoom around because I'm going to show you this is the time of the new moon. And I'm going to move forward until we see Mercury going retrograde. So you can see here, Mercury is just literally at the beginning of Pisces as Mercury then starts going backwards. So Mercury is coming from Aquarius all the way to the very beginning of Pisces and then has to go back. So you can see that then Mercury is crossing over all the personal planets. Is Mars going to go past? Yep, Mars has gone past and the moon's gone past. So all of those personal planets that were involved in that Pluto parade on the last cycle, Mercury's just gone back over all of them. So there was this feeling when I saw that of like this going back over things of like, okay, so going over Venus, what do I love? Going over Saturn and Neptune, what's my dreams? What realities do I want to dream in? What illusions am I, what illusions am I in? What are those illusions or delusions? And there's this kind of energy as Mercury's going back over Saturn and sorry, Mercury doesn't go over Saturn and Neptune. He's just on the gate there, wasn't he? He was just by Pisces. But I will talk about Saturn and Neptune because as I was going back, you can see I've landed on the date of the 20th, which is the date um, when they are exact, I believe. So I'm going to look at my calendar just to double check that's correct. Yes, Saturn and Neptune exact on the 20th. So yeah, so as Mercury is going back through Aquarius and returning back to Aquarius to the source, crossing over Mars, and Venus has gone past him as well. So there is this kind of like Mercury is connected to our intellect, our mind, our thoughts, but also the way we communicate and our voice, a lot to do with technology and devices and communications of all kinds. So Mercury is going all the way back into Aquarius, and I feel like there is this kind of our mind or our intellect has to return, has to really be honest about what we love, what are our dreams and our visions with this Saturn and Neptune together, and really making sure that our mind is clear, that our mind is in the source of our being, the source of our soul, the source of our creation, the purest of consciousness, because we want to create from that place. We don't want to create from the past illusions, from ego, from old identities that aren't who we really are or who we want to be. So Mercury returning to the source, to the eye of God, to the higher perception, is really bringing us an unveiling of our ability to connect to the divine within, that we want to be creating from there. So, and as you can see, then we're going to keep going along. You can see Mercury then starts to go forward again. Whoop. And as Mercury is going forward again, the Sun is with Saturn and Neptune just past. And Venus, because Venus is like leading the party, she is going to be returning as evening star this cycle. There's really amazing time for Venus. Like she is in the waxing of her cycle. She is having her waxing moon conjunctions that she has after her conjunction with the sun. She is rising up through the dark. So as she's having waxing moon conjunctions, it's because she's on she's before the sun, you can see. So she, as the sun sets, then she is there on the horizon. And there's like this waxing energy of her going up through the sky. And so that's, keep an eye out for her on the horizon in the west at night as the sun is setting. I'm so excited. I mean, the first time I see Venus after her conjunction with the sun, where she's been in the dark, where we haven't been able to see her, and now she's coming up again. It's like I get this pure excitement in me when that happens. So when you spot Venus, this is a significant moment. And as Venus is so close to this solar eclipse, I feel like a lot of what's moving through this eclipse energy is very Venusian. It's about our creative heart. It's about our essence. It's about, yeah, our relationships and all the things that we value and love, the things that are important to us. So you can see as Mercury's about going forwards, you can see as Mercury's just going forward, then Venus is here at this very important place in the sky. And I'm going to bring up Eris. Oh, she's just past Eris, dwarf planet Eris, and Chiron's around here too. So she's right next to Chiron as well. So this point in the sky here between the two fishes marks a threshold in the sky. Areshka, it's the cord, it's the knot, it's the golden, yes, the golden knot that unites us to our soul. It means that when Venus breaks through, she breaks out of the waters. This is a birth canal here between Aries and Cetus. This is like as the waters come through, there's the waters breaking and coming through this threshold between the worlds. So as Venus comes through here, she's being born again as the evening star. And wow, how cool is that? She's coming through Aladeshka and she will always be connected to her soul, that she can never be separated from her soul. That is the golden knot, the golden cord that connects us to the source of our being, the source of the river. So that's where we've been, and that's where all of these personal planets and this solar eclipse has come from, this source of the river, this source consciousness, this higher perception. So as Venus is coming through this place and this amazing place in the sky, and she's born again as the evening star, we could be feeling a lot of rebirthing energy in ourselves, around who we are, what we want to create. And then, we've got this kind of the energy of Venus coming through, of this ring of fire coming into a new world, into a new reality. So yeah, I feel like I wanted to leave that there. So is there anything else? And Venus conjoined with Chiron, I feel like this is the healing of the heart. This is a rebirth of the heart, and all of the ways that our heart has been broken or wounded. There is like a breaking through, a breakthrough of our creative heart. So I'm going to stop sharing that now. We're going to go and look at the charts. So, it's going to take me back to Stellarium. Um, so yeah, as you can see at the top of the chart here, we've got the new moon happening at 0 degrees Aquarius. And the zero is a reset. It's a new beginning. It's the womb. It's the whole. The whole. It's And so, when we're connecting to the energy of Aquarius, I connect to Aquarius as the whole. It's the whole of everything. It's the collective consciousness. It's the source, which is a water whole. So this is a beautiful Venusian eclipse, and with Pallas Athena there as well together, you can see. So we've got our North Node, our collective destiny in Aquarius. We've got Mercury here. We've got Venus, Pallas Athena, the Moon, and the Sun. Mars and Vesta and Pluto are still over in Capricorn. Um, but there is a real Aquarian feel. So I've spoken a lot about Danu and Namu and the Aquarian energy being connected to the source of life, the source of consciousness, of our soul, true essence of our being. But also Aquarius as well, there's an energy of electricity, of life force. Electric is energy. Electricity is energy. So that energy is like, the Kundalini, the energy of life, the way that a river flows is full of energy, So the Aquarian energy, connected to Uranus. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So you can see here I've written Uranus is in Venus's stars and Venus is in Uranus's stars, and they're forming a square. So the square to Uranus is very interesting. Uranus has just started going forward last cycle after the retrograde time. And so what does this square bring? So Venus during this cycle is going from the source consciousness, the collective consciousness energy. She's going to be moving, all the way through into her evening star phase, and she's coming up and along. We'll look at the where she is I think by the new moon, the next new moon. Where is Venus going to be? She's just at the end of Pisces, just at the end. That's at the next new moon. So you can see this journey that Venus is on now is about the flow of creativity, the flow of love, and how we can create together. Venus in Aquarius wants to create and values creativity that is collective. So we could be seeing lots of stuff to do with groups happening, lots of, especially with Mercury there, group networking, group meetings, visioning for the future. What do we want to grow, create, build? Venus has just gone through this massive, all of the personal planets have gone through a massive Pluto purge. So there's a lot of space now. There's a lot of things that have drawn to a close. There's been completions and sheddings and vomiting and whatever we've had going on. There's been a lot of snot and bleh, coming up and out. So now, hopefully, this could be a really nice time around this new moon solar eclipse to go to, if we can find a way to go to some beautiful waters, maybe to a spring or to a lake or some kind of special water. If we could go and connect to, even if it's just drinking some spring water or some really great water, and really connecting to the Venusian energy, because Venus at the moment, for the next cycle, she's going to be in the waters. Once she comes through the time in Aquarius, she's going into the ocean of Pisces, and she's going to be that mermaid swimming. So she's swimming towards Saturn and Neptune. So Venus wants to take all that she values for the collective, for humanity, for the future, for our relationships, for our groups and our organizations and our collectives. She wants to take all of that to a meeting with Saturn and Neptune. So bring our love. May our love be the leader. May we lead from our heart. That everything that we're creating is working for the collective, as well as like finding our unique essence within the collective. So we could be purely devoted to our tribe, to our village, to our family, to our groups, to our organizations. We can be so fully devoted, but we have to be also devoted to our own essence within that so that we can keep the integrity of what is my part in this greater vision? What is my unique key or code that I have for the collective? How can I be in the most integral source of my being that I am vibrating out in the collective field of consciousness, my unique essence? And when we're doing that and we're sharing that and we're beaming it out, we attract the other codes and the other sources of essence that can reflect that and start really creating like heaven on earth. So yeah, wow. So back to Uranus. Uranus is in this square to Venus. Yeah, so there's this challenge and this pressure to create something new for the future, to break out of the way things have been. So there's this great tension that's coming between Uranus and Venus. Venus is in Uranus stars. Uranus is in Venus stars. They've swapped homes for this moment. And so Venus is saying to Uranus, we have to make things beautiful. We have to create yeah, beauty and love and unity. And so Uranus is saying, well, okay, then we're going to have to shift things up a bit because the way that it is isn't working. There needs to be this needs to go, that needs to go. And there could be like this really kind of radical stuff coming in from Uranus. Taurus generally is very slow, very steady, very embodied, very practical, is wants things to be financially secure and safe, wants to feel like self-love and valued in the body, and wants to take care of its body and eat lots of nice, yummy foods and smell all of the things and be very much in the senses and the pleasure of Taurus. So I can imagine these two having a conversation, and saying, and the new moon in Aquarius, like, it's about creating for the earth abundance, newness, freshness for the earth, but for everyone. And that means we may have to give up some of our pleasures, or the ways that we overindulge, So that I feel like that could be like this kind of shifting of energy, like how do we resource everyone? It means that some people who are up on the top of the pyramid will have to share their resources a bit more, or like we have to come back into a circle, and create in that more spiral type way, that it's all flowing and it's all feeding, like all the different rivers are flowing and feeding into each other and the earth, and how can we bring our perception, Mercury, to that collective field of consciousness, so yeah, there's a pressure to create creative tension and a challenge to ignite something new. So we could be feeling a lot of that. I know for my own self, I've been feeling a lot of creative tension and really wanting to create, so there is this kind of like, there's an excitement in that as well. There's an excitement because I can feel like there's this newness coming and there's these possibilities opening and what could we do? What could we create? But then at the same time, the physical of Taurus is shaken by that because there's a period of a new world forming, and in that new world forming, an old world is also dissolving at the same time. So that it's can have quite a chaotic energy. And I feel like the Aquarius energy and the Uranus energy, it's kind of like this lightning bolt of change that you didn't always see coming, but it's mostly always for our highest good. It's for our evolution, So sometimes things get lightning bolted out of the way. I had this happen to me many times. And then it's like I felt like the rug was pulled from beneath my feet. But then when I landed, everything was much better than it was before. But I hadn't known in the falling of the chaos, imagine the rug being pulled and then like, there's this kind of like absolute chaos as we are falling from our past illusions. And then when we land in the new, it's like, oh, of course, yes, that other world was an illusion. It wasn't working. Now I can see. We can't always see when we're in the old world, what's not working because we're really engrossed in our life and all of the things that we do. So there is like this necessary rug being pulled from our feet so that we can be in this turbulence of not knowing and then land and go, oh, yes, I see now. I was saying I wanted this, collective consciousness, this new world, and all of these things, but it couldn't be until I removed the thing that was holding me in the old, So we had this with schooling with my eldest son. We was in the school system and it wasn't working, but we were so in the grind of it, just like, oh, we just got to get through the day, we've just got to keep going, we'll be all right, like, oh, and we knew it wasn't working. And then eventually we just said, okay, it's not working, we have to come out. And there was this period of like, what's next? Oh my God, like we're not in the school system. And now, 6 months later or so, we have a new rhythm and it's so much better and everyone's happier and more regulated. So the reason I'm sharing that story is because, we could have stayed in that old system that wasn't working for another few years, but actually taking the leap was really scary. But we did it. And when we did it, things have become more aligned with who we really are, what we really value, what supports us, So that's something that this energy could be bringing to us, that we're having to let go of things that have been comfortable and be in that kind of flailing of arms, like, what's going to happen next? But we need to cultivate trust and surrender to the known, to trust that what's wanting to come through is through this Aquarian energy to move us more towards, doing things together. So, yeah, there's also a grand trine, which is happening with this Jupiter energy and Black Moon Lilith, who's in Libra. Jupiter is in Gemini. And the solar eclipse is in Aquarius. So you can see this is a grand air trine. So the grand air trine, it brings an energy of new ideas, of fresh inspirations, and futuristic ideas as well. And so Jupiter is going to be going direct during this cycle. And I feel like Jupiter in Gemini has a lot to do with the social network, the expanding of our voice, sharing, and is trying to the Aquarian energy, like sharing our voice of the collective or sharing of the collective mind. And Black Moon Lilith in Libra is all about the balance of power, so the balance in relationships and power dynamics within relationships. But this is a grand air trine, and balance of the feminine within those relationships, because we're talking about the Black Moon Lilith connected to the dark feminine. So this is the shadow of the feminine that wants to speak with this Jupiter energy and Mercury in the North Node. So we could be seeing a lot, on the social platforms around, the collective voice and the collective dark feminine shadow and the things that have been, in the dark within those power dynamics. But the trine brings a fresh perspective. It's a really lovely flowing energy that, we could be feeling like we want to communicate about this. We want to make change around this. We want to expose this, and I feel like we could be seeing a lot more exposures online, and with technology, even, with AI and all of this new stuff that's coming out, like we could be seeing a lot more around that as well with this energy. So, yeah, so let's just remove all that part. What else do I want to share? So, I feel like I might just leave that bit there, move over to the first quarter moon in Taurus. So as I was sharing already around, the Venusian cycle, like the moon is going to be joining with Uranus for its first quarter, which is on the 24th. And that's creating a grand cross aspect, which is notorious for being a bit tricky. Bringing quite a bit of tension for us. It's two lots of squares. So we've got the nodes involved and the moon, Uranus, and Black Moon Lilith, who's moved over to Ophiuchus by then. So it's a lot of tension, I feel. It's a lot of tension to make changes, to move towards the North Node and that collective future and shift out of the identities that are rooted in our collective past. And this is, a lot to do with tyranny. It's to do with, with Leo energy, like power and leadership from tyranny, from destructive kind of abuses of power, I feel, with this square to Black Moon Lilith. Abuse of our life force, of our Kundalini, of our sexual energy, of our sensual energy, and how that affects our self-worth and the body of Taurus and the moon there. So a lot to do with self-worth and woundings around the body. And the moon is in opposition to Black Moon Lilith, so lots of, I feel like the first quarter moon as it's building, there's a lot of energy moving towards that. And the Grand Cross, like I said, it brings a fuckload of tension and things coming up to the surface, and I feel like the tension is like, because we know at a higher perception level, that there is this need to evolve, to work more together, to see past the illusions of the past and to move into a more Aquarian way of being. Um, but there's also a lot around the South Node in Leo that's going to be exposed and going to be brought up to the surface. So the full moon lunar eclipse in Leo is happening on the 3rd, and I'm going to do another video about this, hopefully. So I'm not going to go massively into that now, but there is this, like, this coming up to the surface, around the leadership and around the ego and identity and ways that we have performed to be loved or to be validated, or all of these old past ways of being, that are really kind of coming up to the surface to be shifted and evolved and moved through. I feel like there's a really, because Mercury will be retrograde then as well, and will be in the same position pretty much to the sun, well, just over from the North Node, I mean. And the sun is joined with Mercury then. So the sun and Mercury together, we could be Mercury retrograde. I feel like a lot could be coming up around like artificial intelligence, communications, our voice, social media, illusions and delusions, and yeah, like tech issues I can see here, and the economy as well, because we've had all this energy with um, Taurus and Venus and Uranus, and this kind of like I feel like the like economy and things will be really shook. We might even see some technological problems happening around this full moon. Um, yeah, and then the last quarter moon will be in a Fucus. That will be happening on the 11th. And yeah, by that point, we could see that Jupiter has now gone direct from its retrograde. And yeah, it's making a nice trine to Mercury, who's still retrograde, next to the North Node again. So Mercury's going retrograde all the way back to the North Node, isn't it? So very interesting, all of that. So communication is definitely going to be a big theme this cycle. Money is going to be a big theme this cycle. Self-worth, valuing ourselves, the collective groups, finding our own unique essence as in the collective rather than serving from a place of ego or to, benefit ourselves. This is an energy of like sharing, not being like the greedy kind of energy. Yeah, so the last quarter moon will be in a Fucus, and so will Black Moon Lilith. So there is this energy of the dark feminine as well that's really moving through this whole cycle as well. And as we're coming into that last week of the cycle, Jupiter goes direct, can we like connect to that Ophiuchian energy, find healing through an alchemy, find medicine through the wound, and allowing that to be a source of our art and our creation, to create through that. I feel like, lots of therapies could be coming through art and different ways that we can express our wounds through art and creativity. And I feel like so at this time as well, Ceres is going to be with Chiron and Eris. And so this is really bringing up to the surface, which is in trine to this moon, so in a Fucus. So yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of old wounds and abandonment and pain and suffering from these three together here right at the end of Pisces, and how can we alchemize that? How can we bring through like a medicine through that, to become the healer or the doctor of the pain? It's very interesting energy. The new moon after this will be on the 19th of March, and that will be really close to Saturn and Neptune, who are conjoined. Saturn is past Neptune by this point, um, but we can see that the Sun and the Moon are at 6 degrees and right on top of Neptune and Saturn. So it's going to be a very interesting new moon cycle, that one. But I will talk more to that when it comes. But it does feel like this cycle that we're in now with this eclipse is about connecting to our humanity, finding the things that join us and unite us, and the thing that I find really interesting about the Aquarian energy is the collective as a whole, and how we have Ramadan celebrated tomorrow, we have Shivratri, we have the new year of the lunar Chinese year of the horse, we have the new moon solar eclipse. And also from a Celtic perspective, this would be celebrated as our Lunar Imbolc, the new moon after the cross quarter day. So all throughout, all these different languages and cultures and traditions, what unites us is we're all under this one sky. and we're all looking up at the stars and the cosmos, and that we are all united by that. There's so many different traditions that are celebrating this new moon as a new beginning of a new start of something. And there's a freshness there, and there's a new future world that's forming. There's also an element of chaos as well. And I feel like, this cycle is going to bring us into our humanity, how we can unite, how we can connect, how we can create a feeling of togetherness and wholeness together as humanity. And then as we've got this new consciousness forming, this togetherness forming, we can move into the next new moon with Saturn and Neptune and say, okay, now it's the time to build our dreams. So may this cycle with this new year of the horse be an opportunity for us to come together with our groups, with our organizations, with our friends, with our teams, with our family, whoever it is, to communicate what we value, what we love, connecting to our creativity with Venus, really connecting to our higher perception, how we can work together. We're so much stronger together. And yeah, find our unique piece of that puzzle. And then from here, when this cycle is about the forming, and then from the next cycle, we can really start to move into building those dreams, But I do feel like with the full moon happening in Leo, there is this kind of also big exposure of these old outer identities of the ego that are also falling away and crumbling. So it's there's a new world forming, and there's also a lot of chaos and dissolving at the same time, which can be quite a lot to navigate. But just holding our heart in this kind of the centering in that even if we're feeling like this Uranus rug being pulled from beneath our feet, that it's moving us towards what we truly are here to do. So trusting that is the work of now. So I'll leave it there, my darling, sending you so much love for this amazing new cycle and this new year of the fire horse. May we ride well towards our dreams and our visions and our collective future, leading with love. Many blessings, my loves. Take care.